Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Pillow Talk podcast. Exciting for me. You know, guys, I always get excited when I do in-person ones. And today I'm super excited. And someone I've become really close with over the last few weeks. We just met a few weeks ago at the launch of the Centre of Excellence, but been a big advocate of Pillow and our team as well, and been a mentor for one of our team members. And you're here today. We'll cover why you were in the office, but I want to share some good knowledge here all about creative writing and becoming an author. So I am here with Fiona Taylor. I'm not going to butcher the introduction. Fiona, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, lovely to be here, Scott, and lovely to be in the Centre of Excellence. It's so modern, it's so new, it's very fresh, and I love the atmosphere with all the young ones because they're really young entrepreneurs. And it's the one thing people always say, why should I write a book and I'm only 20?
Yep.
You should write a book at any stage in your life. And one thing I've realised, I never wrote this book when I did originally write the book about 10 years ago, and I was a speech coach. And the thing I realised then, when you're coaching anyone who speaks, you don't ever criticise. You don't need to criticise them. Just allow the person to hear how they sound, because we don't hear how we sound.
Yep.
It's a bit like looking in a mirror. You don't see yourself the way other people see you. And the whole point for me for writing the book was I had this background in coaching. I liked the sound of people using their voice. I mean, if you listen to some amazing actors, their nuances in words is just quite phenomenal.
Yep.
And it gets the punchline over. So from there on in, I had been doing a couple of ghostwriting books and chapters for people, and writing things for people. Somebody said, why don't you just tell your story? Why don't you tell people how to write a book?
Yep, and that is why you're here today. You have been running a very busy course, lots of animated young ladies, and your course today will come to your book in a second. I say little book; it's twice the size of my old book, so it's definitely not little. You were doing a course today, and tell us about that course. Was people becoming authors in 12 weeks?
Yes.
Wow. Tell us about that.
I think there's a structure to writing a book, and I realised a long time ago it was only 6 steps. There are 6 steps, and I literally taking people by the hand, crossing that bridge, and the bridge is for them to actually have that full belief in themselves because they've got the quality inside.
Yep.
They've got that ability. People have a great story to tell.
Yep.
And sometimes it's only just changing the word. It's like a nuance. I refer to that again. It's like when someone refers to something or is a great saying, it's the nuance of a particular word that makes the story much more real. And the people today were being fantastic. The girls, and we did have a couple of boys, were amazing because they were just so free with what they were saying. They were just so relaxed about it, getting their experience out there. And your book's amazing, Scott. When you wrote that 13 years ago, it really was just, that was where we were. Life has moved on post-COVID. Everything's very different.
Yep.
And
that's what I want to talk to you about because, and it's why I've grabbed you from your course. In-person events kind of all disappeared. Everything's online. But when it comes to writing and creativity, there was a spell there, and we can chat about that. I think it will go back the way as a trend. But for a period there, even direct mail disappeared. Stamps are too expensive. You can send emails for free. Why do a physical book and all the hassle and the postage and the money and thousands of pounds when you could do an ebook? And ebooks were instantly deliverable. They were free. You could, once you've done it, it's an evergreen asset, and it scales up infinitely. It's free to deliver. And you're teaching people today about writing a book in 12 weeks.
Yes.
So people coming together, if you know about mastermind groups, you'll know I am a lover of the mastermind group, and people coming together, unleashing their creativity. Book writing, everybody knows, but let's look at creative writing, because I heard you speaking about that. Tell us a little bit about creative writing, what that means and what it means to you.
What it means to me is just literally let your mind just go with the flow. People often think, oh gosh, I've got to get this absolutely perfect.
Yep.
So they go into AI, and AI gives you little symbols and little spacemen. But when you're thinking, you don't speak like that.
Yep.
You wouldn't be terribly formal, like saying, right, Scott, do you want a cup of coffee? You'd say, right, do you want a cup of coffee?
Uh-huh.
If you were looking at AI asking that, it'd be a terribly formal
Yes.
question. Whereas the interchange today, where people were allowed their thoughts, and it was just like your mind wandering. It's like going for a walk on a wonderful sunny day. It's one of the reasons I love being on boats, because when you're on a boat, you're so busy concentrating on everything else, you've forgotten about yourself.
Yep.
And so many people, I think there's two types of people that owe life a living, or people who think life was them a living.
Uh-huh.
Definitely the former. And with creative writing, it's just being relaxed, just letting your mind go with the flow. And it's a bit like you never write how you speak, because we speak very casually, very relaxed, very informal. And when you want to write creatively, you want a little bit of that, or even a lot of that informality, because so often, AI, you can tell someone if they've written a paragraph, or they can tell someone who's just chunked it out of AI.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's very structured, it's very formal, the comma's in the right place, the sentences are ended, it's like it's not you have. And it's so structured and it's so formal. Whereas if we actually were to transpose this conversation, it'd be very relaxed and very informal.
Yeah.
And we could probably put a lot of that into a book, but we might have to do a bit of modification.
Yeah. So, books, your book here, The Power of Your Words, step-by-step guide to confidently write your business book. So when you've published a book and written a book, that's for the purpose of, that's for one, promoting your business, but this is an education book. It's like a textbook at school. Step-by-step guide to confidently write your business book. That's niche down. Not just write a book, a romance novel or something like that. It's a business book. So you had a very, very clear aim for writing your book. I had a clear aim for mine. It was stress-free lettings. We were just talking to another agent outside. And for me, this was published in 2014. So
live.
We're live. People phoning me. So 2014, I didn't know anything. So I didn't have Fiona's expertise. I just self-published a book. But that was for me, as a business, stress-free letting, that everybody would get 3 agents out. And I knew every 3 agent would leave a folder and leave a business card. But if I wrote a book where I was a published author, albeit self-published, that stood me above. But that was a business tool. I had no interest in being an author or sharing my story. That was a business tool to allow me to promote the business. So we both have reasons for writing books, but some people might not know their reason for writing a book. And some people I've spoken to over the years said, well, I'm not a business person, Scott. I don't have any expert knowledge in a field of anything. So therefore, I couldn't write a book. Do you believe that's true? When people say to you, well, I don't have a book and there's nothing, I couldn't write a book because what would I write a book about?
Absolutely.
Is that a false belief?
Yes, it's a total false belief. It's like thinking the world is flat when it's actually round. And the reason I wrote when you did very succinctly say yes in 12 weeks, because I run the 2-day course, which answers the 6 questions, and there's 6 methodologies to actually going through all the different stages about what. The first one very much is why you're writing your book, and really recognize what your key strengths are, because so many people have key strengths, but they don't see it. They don't see things like continuously learning, being inquisitive. They don't see things like capturing all the information or being more interested in other parts of where their business is. That is a real key strength. So they don't recognize themselves. And then they don't know who their ideal clients are. So if they don't know who their ideal clients are, then they can't focus on what they're trying. You knew when you were writing your book, it's all about letting. You weren't saying to people, this is buy-to-let, this is HMO, houses of multiple occupancy, or this is something else. This is exactly what it says in the tin. And that's what I love about that. And that's why I have a very simplistic process. It's not Einstein. It's not something terribly intellectual, if you want to be perfectly honest. Because if it is that intellectual, and wasn't it Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a 4-year-old, you can't explain it.
Yes.
So and because I'm a coach, I think it's more important to coach people over the remaining 12 weeks. So when people go on my course, they have a handbook. The handbook gives them all the materials that they need to write and answer those questions. And in addition to that, over the 12 weeks, I coach them. So it's a more of getting to know, more in depth, more understanding. And so often people write, but they don't write what they mean. And as you get to know them and coach them, you get to understand more. Like you knew it was stress-free in letting, because letting is stressing. People,
sure.
And if you have 3 people, you've got 10 different opinions.
Yeah.
And I can always remember years ago, BT did a challenge and they got skippers who were very, very experienced and crews who were totally inexperienced. And I'm going back probably 30 years ago. And in those days, it cost £12,500 to recruit someone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it costs just now, probably about 3 times as much. But if you've got something that people can use, and a bit like you, people throw away a business card. You don't throw away a business book.
It was said to me, a business book will sit on a shelf and nobody's throwing that out. Business card, pen a penny, every networking, but that will sit in your bookshelf and nobody throws that out. So that's, I took advice from someone we hadn't met, but someone that gave me advice. Mm-hmm. Now, we're business people, we're writing books to deliver knowledge and demonstrate expertise. What if you're not a business person? What if you're just someone that's an employee? Can they write books? What do people, there'll be people there, and I know we're watching this, say, but I don't have a topic I'm knowledgeable about, but demonstrate knowledge is one thing. People would do it for other reasons, to share their personal stories, to perhaps help other people if they've had some good times or hard times, something that people would be able to take benefit from. It's not just about delivering business knowledge and making money. If some other people out there watching saying, I've not got anything I could write a book on. What if some of your ex-clients that you've worked with, written books on, out with the business field? Because it's easy for business, we want to do what you and I have done with these books. Like mums at home, or looking after a family member, or going through a divorce or something. What's some of the topics that people have written books on?
Well, when people have that personal experience, it's like the lady who couldn't afford to entertain her children with the Teletubbies. It was a certain homeless person called Joanne who literally nursed a cup of coffee all day and wrote and wrote and wrote. And it's a bit like someone saying to me, you can't teach someone to write a book in, two days? Why? It's a bit like saying Roger Bannister in 1937 was told, you can't run a mile in 4 minutes. Everybody can do whatever they choose to do. If you don't run up a mountain in the first go, but you can train, you can work at it, and everybody has a special gift. We've all got gifts. We're all different. And it's not, I often think education's for the educated or for academics, more to the point. But we're all learning, and we've all got a story to tell, and we've always got something that's valuable. And it's not often seen by ourselves as valuable. But if someone gives you a hint or a tip or says something, I'm just back from Serbia, the number of people who could speak fluent English and be very helpful.
Nice.
Yeah, I still can't say happy birthday in Serbian.
Don't worry, I.
But so someone wants to write something, you've got a passion in there.
Have you ever met anybody that couldn't write a book, that was just that you couldn't bring that creative process out?
I've met people that couldn't string 2 sentences together and whose English was a bit interesting, but I have electronic, I've AI, I suppose, in the sense that I video people. And part of often the work that I do is, if I'm doing coaching, is to video them. And then I transpose that into English. So
there's solutions for people, whether they're shy, whether you can bring that creative process out. Fantastic. You mentioned AI there. I've started getting messages, and it's marketeers, our competitors even, put a post out. Hi Scott, I found your content deeply meaningful. It really resonated with me at an emotional level, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit AI, it's chatbots, and that's the way marketing's going. And listen, AI, we still have not hit the tip of the iceberg to comprehend what this is going to do to change our lives. But even for us in the short-term rental industry, we are writing listings with AI to make sure that I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic, I have every ism out there. So writing things and checking my spelling. AI spell checker, that's something amazing for me, writing listings. So we use it in our industry, and we probably use it daily. But AI is AI. Things will be done by AI, and I think AI is going to outstrip marketers and ad copy, and things like TikTok algorithms, all going to be AI. But I think there'll be a tipping point where human words, the intricacies of fucking spelling up and grammar and your own way. And I've got a foul mouth, as you can hear, but surely that's going to be better than perfect alliteration. Is that right? I don't know.
Illustration is the right one.
Alliteration. So AI may be taking over, but you're going to be fighting for human words to come back.
I don't
You
think
there's a space for it forever.
Do you know why I don't think it would take over? Is because when you ever meet people, people think they'll never be impressed with people. But if you ever meet any of the royals, and some of what they used to say is that people get so impressed with them, and they're just human beings like you and I.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely real life human beings, whereas they just are very normal. They have a great fun, and that you see that personal, not personal persona, public persona.
Yeah.
But if you ever stand with them or be around them, very normal human beings, and they like to poke fun. AI can't poke fun at people. And I think here in the west of Scotland, we've got a real Glaswegian sense of humour.
Definitely, yes.
And if we don't have that cheeky sense of humour, what's the point?
Fantastic. No, I think the Glaswegian banter, for you guys watching the Glaswegian banter chat is the best in the UK, and won't hear anything otherwise. I think that's fact, scientific fact. So business people can write books to demonstrate knowledge. People can write books to become published authors and make money, and that's a career. Like you think Stephen King and these people.
Oh, yes.
What's some other reasons people write books? Not in it for money or financial gain or bad things like you and I to promote ourselves. Do people write books just for their own satisfaction?
Absolutely. I would say the majority of people like me, and probably you, Scott, that wrote your book, you write it for your personal satisfaction. And it's a bit like I've been reading another very famous author, and he's been dead for 11 years. But there's a pseudonym, not a pseudonym, that's the wrong word. Sorry, I get muddled. Another person's name. And I'm thinking, who's this chap? Where did he come in? And I'm suddenly thinking, have I read this series? Guy's been dead for 11 years, but they're still writing under his branding.
Yep.
So I think so many people have got something to say in a book. And the reason you write the book is not just to give you credibility, but that personal satisfaction of a job well done. You started, so you finished.
Definitely. And I think I've spoken to a few people lately, and it's a kind of legacy for their children, sharing their story and just and we always measure, everything's relative. We measure ourselves against others, but actually, some people have an amazing story, and everybody you meet, actually, especially in the business community, you're like, I did not know that about you. People have climbed Kilimanjaro, they've been to the Antarctic, they've overcame cancer, they've adopted children, they've run triathlons when they've had a broken back, the doctor said, and these are normal people you meet. And these stories can be more, for me, and it's why I love doing these podcasts. People that are doing podcasts say, well, why don't you get big names on and get sponsorship? Well, we're not big enough. But I always want this podcast to be with the real people, because I think, of course, Elon Musk, and listen, if we get Richard Branson on, he's inspiring, but I think normal people are more inspiring, more courageous, more heroic. And listen, if you're a billionaire entrepreneur, hey, of course you're going to change the world. It's hard not to, but getting normal people and hearing normal people's stories. And I wanted to jump on to publishing, because yours is a nice professional published book. It was always in my mind before that you had to go to a big publishing house, you had to get deals, they would reject you, and you hear a J.K. Rowling getting rejected, 47 times, hundreds of times. How do people go about publishing a book? You can self-publish and go to big publishing houses, and they take your profits, but is it easy to get a book published? Is it an insurmountable thing that nobody can do, or can the average person do it?
Probably they don't like the intricacies, because there's a bit of nuances. There's a bit, property, I would have come right out with that and said, there's a lot of really tricky steps involved, or even said it much more succinctly than that. But there are some tricky steps, not least of all to get it proofread.
Yes.
Part of what I'm doing now, because I did the speaking, now I've got the formula for writing the book, is to actually help people without paying an arm and a leg to get a book published. Yeah. So they're going to feel confident that they've got it. I particularly I just wanted something very simple, and I spoke with the publisher, and I learned so much But that's all right when you've got plenty of dosh. But if you really want your book, but you want some inspiring pictures in it, or you want some inspiring etchings, or you've got the theme running through it, and you want people to notice things, get a really good editor who's going to edit it. And then we're working on a course now to get books published that don't cost an arm and a leg to publish.
Fantastic, because I spoke to some bigger people at some events in London. You know, you don't write a book for money, because you've sold £1 million and they're getting 18 pence per book, and there's big authors that are getting big, thick, hardback books, and they're getting 49 pence a book. And you're like, the books are 20 quid, 16.99, they're getting pennies. So you can self-publish, you can do these things, you can cut out publishers that they say you need, because there are book writing courses and like, well, you need to buy 30,000 of your own book.
You need to pay £30,000.
Yeah, it's 30, 40 grand. And we're going to cover your courses at the end, because I've just seen the work you've done next door. Everybody's super happy, creative juices flowing. What's some tips? We always like to finish as we come to the end with some tips. Whoever our guests are, we want some tips for young entrepreneurs. So what about some young authors out there, young people? And again, we always go for, listen, if you're super confident and you can sort yourself out and your brain works fine, I always go, what if there's some people there? Listen, I left school with no qualifications, was told I was stupid, was told I'd never amount to anything, couldn't spell, literally 0 qualifications. I would never have thought I could have written a book because I couldn't spell. But technology will solve that. So what's some tips for young people out there that have a little bit of creativity, but maybe not feel that academic or a bit shy or a bit reluctant to do it and put themselves out there? Some tips for young people.
Capture it. If you want to physically write, pen and paper, write it. If you can type it, or if you can put it in your own shorthand, but capture it. Do it on a short video and be able. There's so many systems today. You just press and it just gives you the written word. But capture it and think about all the things that have made you laugh, things that you've thought, things that you've learned, because you learn things that. I mean, how many times have people said to you, Scott, I wish I'd known that 5 years ago. I wish I had known that. And every day's a school day. You learn something. I think capturing all that, because those hints and tips, that knowledge, that's your expertise. And your way of looking at it, that's also your expertise. You don't have the most clever people often don't have those bits of paper. Because what do you do when you've got a bit of paper? You get to the stage like me, you don't want to know when you got those bits of paper, because you're there thinking, gosh, could I get that old? You just don't want them. So I would just say, no, capture it, because it's posterity.
Yep. One of the great things you mentioned is for people writing business stuff is audio transcription. You can pay in what, $1 100 words or something like $1 a minute, so you can record it onto an iPhone, don't need to spell, and there are apps there that you can literally talk into a mic, and the next thing you know, you've got a 30,000 page book just through your ramblings on your daily walk. So that is a great bit of advice. Now we're going to finish with your course, because you're here at the Centre of Excellence. And what we do, we've got a space, we use it for community, we help businesses, and people that come, they donate to the charity. So we don't monetize the space, but we love running courses like this, and that gets some funds for the charity that saves lives. So Fiona's course today is Saving Lives somewhere in the UK. So you're running a course here. Tell us about that. It's at the Centre of Excellence here in Glasgow. Tell us about your next course for anyone that want to join.
We're going to go back and do a creative writing. We tried it in Edinburgh. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't get over the standard and the quality of what people were producing. And people saying, I can't write a book. I couldn't do anything. And we got into the library and we sat there. And I don't know if it was the ambience, the people, but the quality of the writing was unequivocal. It was phenomenal.
Just to be clear, guys, that's Edinburgh. The standard of writing in the West Coast, Best Coast, Glasgow is going to be even. We don't want but champagne and pronouns and castles. We don't want any of the. We don't want talking about the Teslas and eco cars and sustainability. We're coming to Glasgow. We're keeping it real. We're talking about stabbings and alcoholism and liver failure here. So the Glasgow one will have much better topics. Finally, the audience watching, I've learnt a lot today as well, even though we've just listened into the course. if people are watching, you've liked what Fiona said, you've had some value, and some people would like to work with you, what's your ideal customer? Who's the ideal person? Let's say for your next course, who's your ideal customer watching? If you could get two, if we get two customers for Fiona today, tell us who they would be. What's their avatar?
The
Who'd you like to
avatar
work
would
with?
somebody who wants a bestseller, because when you've got that grit and determination, and that's the reason we're doing the publishing now, so we know the tricks of the trade. We know how to get you to be a bestseller.
Nice. And it won't be about sustainability and pronouns and any Edinburgh East Coast stuff. The bestsellers are real, the main streets of Glasgow here. So fantastic. When is your next course? Let me know.
September. I'm just looking at the calendar. I think it's the 2nd and 3rd. We're trying to avoid September weekend. And anyway, I'm going to do a bit of sailing.
A bit of sailing. There you go.
Where are
That's the lifestyle you get as a published author. There, you get your own sailing boat and sail the Riviera. Guys, thank you very much. I have grabbed you here because I could not let you leave the office without sharing some top tips with the audience. Guys, I hope you have found that very beneficial. I know I have. If you've been watching live, thank you for watching. There's some questions come in that I asked. If you are watching on a replay anywhere and you did not get a chance to ask your questions, please get in touch. We'll share them with Fiona, and I'll share the links for the course under wherever you see this on the replay. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.